Good morning. My name is Melissa Skinner. I am one of the lead pastors here at Fifth Avenue Church, and today I'd like to talk with you about something near and dear to me, which is working toward unity and the effort it takes, and especially as it pertains to listening to one another. I have a teaching here called How to Be an Open-Hearted Listener. We're going to go over a couple clues and a couple prayers, 3 clues and 3 prayers, to deal with it firstly in our mind and then in our hearts. And first of all, to give some context, the reason this came to mind is just so many polarized issues that are going on right now, and issues I never even dreamed would become political. But just watching how even the best of us, I don't know if you could rank people as best or worst, but even those who are trying our darndest to be unified and to work toward the good of one another, we still end up being really polarized, and it ends up in isolation. So polarized issues keep us far apart from one another so that we can no longer hear or understand each other. We separate ourselves from differing views and thus separate from one another. And when we are separate, we lose the humanity behind the issues we disagree with. And so I think that's really impactful right now as we all feel kind of forced into choosing sides on everything. And it's not really being encouraged right now to have a nuance to your beliefs or a nuance to how you look at the world. It's like, who do you want to hate more? And so we go on that. And it really makes it hard to find unity, and it really makes it hard to just live with one another if we just see sides everywhere and have to pick one. There's a quote from Mother Teresa that I've been really inspired by recently. It says, "If we have no peace, it is because we have forgotten that we belong to each other." I liked this quote so much that I bought a t-shirt with it on it, and I wear it very happily. So what I like about this quote is it's not about like the light and fluffy version of unity where it's like, oh, we just pretend to get along, or we just don't bring up something so we won't have an argument. If we really belong to each other, then we have an ownership over one another as far as providing the best for everyone involved, and knowing that our opinions and our stances on things will really affect the person next to you or even the person far from you. Just knowing that you're not an isolated case in yourself, and that the things you do and say and believe is part of a bigger thing around you, and just that we belong to each other, and you belong to others as well. And lastly, I wanted to bring up something I'm calling sacred conversations. So my friend Terry Reed and I have began doing some recorded conversations over the past several months. Here's a screenshot of one of them. We call this Sacred Conversations, Looking at Race, Our Unique Experiences, and Our Common Goals. And so this is actually what spurred on this teaching and why I wanted to bring it up, because we were recording these conversations and listening to people who have walked in different shoes than us and different skin colors than us. And we were finding like, wow, these are really cool concepts, like really cool to hear more perspectives than I would have run into on an average day. But I was also noticing, wow, those are a lot of buzzwords and a lot of trigger topics. And I don't know if I can put these all on the website sometimes, on the church website, because you never know how people are going to hear them. And just our culture's tendency right now to, when you hear something that has been politicized so much, to once you hear those triggering phrases or words, you just all of a sudden like shut down, like can't listen anymore, protect myself, feel attacked, stop listening, whatever. And so that's what actually made me want to create this teaching with just a few tools on how to listen past the discomfort. We haven't said anything mind-blowing on these recorded conversations, but I don't know. Things just always get taken far, and since things are so polarized, like I talked about before, it just makes it hard for people to keep listening when wanting to hear people out. And so, bringing us to how to be an open-hearted listener, I wanted to start with, I called it For the Mind because there are just things to think about, and I called them clues. So these are 3 clues that you may have more listening to do when you're going about trying to be an open-hearted listener. Okay, first one, if you find yourself saying, oh, I've heard their reasoning before. So if someone's stance on something sounds foolish to you, you may have more listening to do. This is under the premise that most important issues have well thought out people on all sides. So if you think that it's just downright dumb, whatever it is, you probably haven't really heard them out. So I wrote here, the most crucial issues will have so many angles and so many concerns to consider. If you've only heard one side of an issue described by well-educated, thoughtful people, but you've only heard the other side described by people who were frustratingly misinformed, misguided, irrational, or reactive, that isn't the same as looking at both sides. I wanted to point that out because it's so easy to, if you only have listened to each concern that you're wanting to form opinions on, if you find people that agree with you and you listen to their best and brightest and their smartest and most heartfelt, of course it's going to sound reasonable. And then if you say, well, I'll be balanced, I'll listen to the other side too. And especially if you only listen to the other side through the lens of the people you already agree with, they're going to make them sound really misinformed, and it's not going to be an accurate representation. So this is just a thought and a clue that you might not have really listened in a topic if you never have that feeling of like, oh, I never thought of it that way before, because that's what really happens when you're listening to both sides of an issue. Even if you never end up changing your mind on what you think should be done, if you're never ever saying, oh, I never thought of that before, you might have more listening to do. Okay, clue number 2, if you find yourself saying, well, it's their own fault. So if your solution to a problem involves telling someone else what they should do, but includes no introspection on your part, you may have more listening to do. When you hear people talking about an issue that affects them, especially if it affects them more than it affects you, and they're offering solutions that you think would make the problem worse, try listening anyway. Try hearing what has hurt them, what they've tried before, what experiences led them to their current beliefs. Basically, try putting a person into that body that you're listening to, and not just listening to the concepts, and just bring humanity to it and say, hey, maybe they believe this for a good reason. Maybe you've never experienced things in a way that, if you experienced it in the way that they did, maybe you would feel the same way about it. This isn't about changing your opinion or theirs. This is just about, can you really hear them out? Okay, last clue. If you find yourself saying, anyone who believes that is a monster. This is about villainizing. If you are tempted to believe that the people who are on the other side of an issue than you must be morally corrupt, you may have more listening to do. And it's not a guarantee. I'm not saying that if you think something is wrong, then there's something wrong with you. I'm just saying you might have more listening to do. So listen to the values behind the stances that are being spoken about. You may find that you and the other person are both fine with the values involved in the topic, even if you never see eye to eye about how those values get implemented into policy. So the racial equality does come to mind. So let's say you have one person saying, I value people of color, and another person saying, I value people of color. And then you both want to solve like inequality issues a different way. Can you value the fact that you agree on that you're valuing people? So saying value a bunch of times, but without just saying like, well, they're a monster because they don't want to do this, or they must have a moral discrepancy because they don't understand what I'm saying is best. So give someone the benefit of the doubt of their moral character, just because they want to implement a policy differently than you. Okay, that was for the mind. For the heart, I have 3 prayers. These prayers are useful during disagreements, at a family gathering, before you go to work, anytime you're involved with watching the news. You can implement these during meditation or intercession times, and I'm going to say especially before replying on social media. So here is a prayer of inclusion. God, help me to see this person as a part of my team. Even if it's a public figure, can you ask God to help you believe in your heart, not just intellectually, but believe in your heart, this person is part of my human race and we're in this together? Because whatever gets decided on what policies are made or what we vote on or who gets to be president or anything like that, we're all going to have to deal with the consequences of all those decisions together. And so can you ask God to help you actually feel that ownership of we're belonging to each other, we're on the same team? Prayer of introspection. Watch out for this one. Oops, I pushed the wrong button. Prayer of introspection. God, is there anything in me that I need you to heal that makes me biased or guarded? Please forgive me and heal me. That one hurts a little bit because it's supposed to be everyone else's fault, right? I'm just the victim of everyone else's biases, and I'm the victim of everyone else's malfunctions. No, I have some stuff too. So, daily, you could pray this so often. Is there anything in me that I need healing? God, please forgive me for how I've dealt with my hurts and heal me of those. And finally, there's a prayer of forgiveness. This one's kind of funny. God, help me to forgive them for valuing things differently than me so that I can listen with openness. This one is not as obvious because we think, well, why do I need to forgive someone just for having an opinion? Well, because you might be judging them for that opinion. And even if you're wrong for judging them, even if you're right for judging them, you might need to start with forgiveness. Like, just say the words, God, I forgive them for believing this thing that hurts me so bad. And coming from a place of already forgiving in your heart, I wouldn't bring it up to them necessarily, like, I had to forgive you for your terrible belief. But it's an internal thing you do beforehand or along the way. So forgiving them for being different than you sounds weird, but try it. It might be something you need to do over and over because they are relentlessly not you. And so you need to have your firm opinions and make your stances and fight for what you believe in. And you also need to coexist with these people that are so different than you. And sometimes you even feel betrayed. Like, I thought we agreed on this and now you believe something differently than me. Yeah, you might need to forgive them for that. And then you might need to go back and ask God that other one about, like, do I have something that I need forgiveness for too, between you and God? Just a whole lot of forgiveness necessary for this conversation. So just in conclusion, why does this discussion matter? This is about loving God's children. This is about loving yourself. This is about being free to have opinions and being free to discover and be curious about other people's opinions. It's about defining things around you and feeling safe to look into things, even looking into other perspectives that you will never agree with will help you really solidify where you stand on things as well. And so I just think this is incredibly important, crucial thing to do right now. Just for the sake of God, how God created the earth and created the people in it to be together. For the sake of all of that, please listen to one another. Listen to your heart. Keep an open heart with God in mind, and make an effort toward unity today.